All right, we're on. Officially on.
It's time.
Let's go. All right,
I like
Tunde. So first, tell everyone who you are and what you do, just so everyone has a clue, because I don't think the MMA community
Yeah.
recognizes who Olatunde is.
They all think I'm some other local fighter probably.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I've been contacted before about certain MMA testing and things like that for the local scene. So I'm Tunde Oduyingbo, and I'm 100% Nigerian in the blood. I was born here, and I'm a sales professional and an MMA enthusiast. I go in and out of training whenever I'm, busy, as you know, and yeah, that's about it. I've been watching MMA for a long time.
Okay, could you give the introduction on how we met? I think that's a good story. I love hearing it.
That's a great start. You want me to give the 100%?
Yes.
All right, I will.
Definitely.
Hopefully, no one judges me. So,
No, they won't.
the very first
didn't.
time I saw you and acknowledged, or didn't acknowledge you, I guess, but was when we were sitting to get baptized.
Yes.
Yes, I was sitting to get baptized. I did not know that Raphael was Latino of any sort. He looked a little bit Middle Eastern sorts,
Yes.
which is perfectly fine, of
I
course.
still get that.
But he was just an unrecognized face in the baptism seat. So I probably kept a close eye on him. I won't lie. And look at us now, man.
Look at us now.
It's happened to me. It's happened to you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. I wasn't ready for that one. That's great.
It's a good story, though.
It really is.
Ever since then, I think I don't even remember how I started talking to you.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember either.
Like,
I think we just kind of.
Yeah, but eventually we started talking about MMA. We found like a common ground.
Yeah,
there.
for sure.
And then ever since then, every time I see you at church,
Yeah.
we would like do a headlock or something.
Yeah.
One of those typical
Try to
MMA
get a cheap tap.
Yeah, you got those on me.
Yeah.
And I've actually learned a lot about MMA through you.
Nice.
I've actually grown my interest because of you. And I remember the first time that I heard, specifically, I won't forget this. You introduced me to like the fact that MMA fighters cut weight.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I never knew that, and
Yeah.
I used to. And now I'm okay with it because
Yeah.
I've even cut weight for a fight. But I used to think like those guys are cheaters. Everyone's a cheater.
Yeah.
And it's kind of true still, but yeah. So tell me more about your enthusiasm for
Yeah.
your
So
MMA enthusiast.
I'm like a numbers guy. I'm a science guy. I'm like I played soccer basically my whole life, and people kind of like, they knock on soccer, but the soccer players know like there's like a poetry to it,
Mm-hmm.
You hit the crossbar 3 times in a game, you already know like, all right, the odds are going to be against me. You tie that game, you remember those moments, you remember the flow of the game. And
What's a crossbar?
a crossbar is like that, the top of the goal post, so not the 2 vertical ones, but the
Okay.
horizontal one across.
Yeah.
So with MMA, one of my buddies, Sean Marmis, the MMA community, the OGs will know him, Sean Mambo Marmis. I actually gave him that name Mambo from the song Mambo No. 5. So great kid, great British kid. Parents have the British accent, British, respect, all of that. So I always saw him. He was in my math classes in school and things like that. I always saw him as like a very respectful kid, a very almost passive kid, like never would think he would strike someone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I see he's getting into this thing called mixed martial arts. He asked me to we were friends from school, to go to one of his fights. I'm like, I want to support this kid, but like he's not muscular. I don't want to see him get crushed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he faces this guy. I forget the guy's name now. He's a really good wrestler. He was, I believe he was, physically strong as well. I knew he was physically strong, but I think you could see it. And it's actually at the same place in Plymouth as your first fight, I believe.
Okay.
And I'm watching Sean get straight, respectfully, I'm watching him get kind of manhandled by this stronger guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what jujitsu is. I have no idea. I just know what punching in a takedown is at this point, probably. And he catches this guy in a heel hook, and that was it. I was hooked, pardon the pun, but I was like, what? I was like, you can submit someone who's stronger than you, more athletic than you, with technique. And then I went back to that whole poetry thing. I was like, there's a science to this sport. There's a poetry to the sport and I was I was hooked ever since. So I went to like every single one of his fights except for one that he had like in New Hampshire at the time. But every time, no questions asked, would, buy the ticket, go to the fight, and love it every time and feel the nerves every time as well.
It's funny. How do you feel as a fan watching it? Because I know we've been to events.
Yep.
I don't know if we ever been together? We've met.
Yeah, I think it sounds like we're dating with the way you're explaining it. No, obviously I've watched you fight. I think we might have been to maybe like one Twin River event where like you're there with some guys with the dojo and I'm there with my wife Kayla and obviously we link up, but that's about it. I don't think we've actually spectated too many events together.
Right. Yeah. So how do you feel about watching it as a fan? Because did you ever feel like you wanted to compete in it?
Oh, for sure. I think that's going to be one of those bucket list things that, and I'm not saying I'm going to compete by any means, but it'll be just like learning Spanish. I try to do it here and there, and I go through waves of like speaking it well and not, but it'll be one of those things on my bucket list when I'm older where I'm like, I really should have pressed into that. So we won't close the door fully yet, but yeah, seeing it, I think there's something that changes in a competitor and their mindset just going into that cage once, as because you've done it. I think there's something that changes with your mindset of life. So I've always spectated it, but obviously never competed.
Yeah. You feel just as excited though?
For sure. Yeah, I feel, I shouldn't say for sure because I don't know because I haven't been in there, but I feel those nerves. I feel like, it's always good watching someone like you who you're close with fight because you can go through those emotions. It's great when you win,
Yeah.
You get that elation.
So you've been to the one in Boston, haven't you?
Yes.
Was a UFC event in Boston.
Yeah.
I've never been to a UFC event.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So who do you feel more excited for? Someone that you're a fan of that you watch on TV or someone that you know personally?
That's actually a really great question. I would say the people I know personally, and this might not be for everyone, but for me, like I said, I like the art side of the sport, the poetry of the sport. So I had a few favorites for sure, but most of the time I'm watching the top guys. I have like a slight favorite, but I want to see I see the science is he going to be able to stop his takedowns? Oh, these are two wrestlers. Like, are they going to stand in trade or is one really better than the other, even though they have these credentials? So I don't really get the same emotions as someone who, like you, who I'm like, I absolutely want you to win. I don't care if you win pretty. I don't care if you win ugly. I just want your hand to get raised. So I would say I like watching someone I know personally more and the emotions are more invested there for sure.
I know. Me too. So... what was I gonna say? So you're a numbers guy, you said.
Yeah. Don't ask me any quick math questions and spoil that.
12 times 12.
144.
Yes, you're right. So you're a numbers guy. So So how does numbers fit into MMA with you? Does it, or how do you apply it?
So maybe not necessarily numbers in MMA, but I guess, because there's patterns, I'm sure like a lot of the great coaches, if you could like get in a film room with them, like Trevor Whitman and these striking coaches, they're probably doing like, just like football, any other sport at this point.
Who's that one?
I believe he's the striking coach for like Gaethje and Rosnama Yunus and that camp there. And you see like Kamaru Usman striking now. He did his last camp with those guys there, I believe. So I believe that's his squad. But I'm sure they're looking at how many times someone reacts to a jab, how many times when you put your left foot to the side and slide over, what's their reaction. And they're not just looking at it like the one time the person gets caught, but I'm sure they're looking at the probability of it. So if I was younger and had a actual like fight in MMA career, I would think that I would have, done that and then became a coach and saw like the science of it. Cause like the Greg Jacksons of the world when Jones was coming up and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite fighter?
That's a good question.
Current? Well, I would say who do you think is the greatest of all time?
Oh man, you can't put me on the spot like
there.
that. So when I was growing up with the sport, if you will,
I'm sorry, I ask you these questions because I know, I feel anyway that you know a lot about MMA.
Yeah. So when I was watching MMA, I remember like I got into it right after like the Chuck Liddell era, so I knew who he was. I knew people talked about him as one of the greats, but I didn't really watch it there. But since I was like this student of the game, if you will, I would watch historically like the main guys before me, and then I would watch obviously what was going on now. So I saw Jones coming up. I saw John Jones coming up. I saw a young black dude from New York, Christian guy. I think his dad's a pastor. Like, all things that I saw was like, would be a good role model. There was actually when I was being born again as a Christian as well. So I saw like, this is my guy. I saw his hunger. I saw like he had a gift. Long wingspan, would try crazy stuff in the cage. So I remember saying this was when they did fights at like Applebee's for like one of the first times. He was fighting Shogun. I remember saying like, I feel like this is like Jordan before Jordan. People don't even know. They don't even know. And there was one other guy that got it. Like everyone was like, what is they talking about? Like this guy's gonna lose to Shogun. And we're both talking like this is the guy. And then he just obviously finishes Shogun like in emphatic fashion. So then of course he let me down. He has the test and things like that. So it's tough. I can't really, if you take out the test, I think it's Jones hands down in terms of body of work for a career. If you say right now in present time, I'd probably have to give it to like a Khabib just by how he dominates fighters. Not all well-rounded, but he has that skill set, and he's finishing a Dustin Poirier. He's finishing a Justin Gaethje. These are like top-level guys, So I would say one of those two in terms of body of work, and then actively who's the best now. You got your Tom Brady. And then it's like, yeah, he just won and that's great. But if you were starting the season again, maybe you take him at 44 when he turns 44, or you probably still take like a Mahomes who it's like, all right, he's actively the best now, but his body of work obviously isn't going to compare to Brady's. So hopefully that's a comparison I don't get too much flack for.
Okay. That's good. I like that. GSP versus Khabib.
That's
Who would
great.
you go for?
Both in their prime.
Yeah, of course.
It's hard to... GSP's wrestling and takedowns does not look pretty. They don't look pretty. But he gets in there with these guys and he takes them down. Usually it's guys that have taken other people down in some fashion, He's not facing elite wrestlers as well. That's a tough one because obviously GSP, I think he mixes it up well. I think he's right up there with John Jones for body of work. Obviously, if you take out, the drug allegations, you put GSP above Jones, in my opinion. I think he's a good tactician and game planner as well as an executor. That's a tough one. I hate to ride the fence here, but that's tough. That's a tough one.
Ain't it?
Yeah. Both in their prime. That's tough.
At 155.
At 155, no one beats Khabib at 155. Really? Yeah. At the catchweight, maybe that's my out right there. At 155, Khabib. At any other weight, GSP.
Wow. Okay, that's more than fair.
Yeah. I think it's kind of like Conor. I was saying for a long time with Conor, I said people are missing the greatness on this guy. It's not just his striking. It's not just that he's ahead. He's taking this weight cut and then somehow he's performing on fight night. So he's 145. He looks like death the fight before.
Yeah, I've seen it.
He looks famished. And then he goes out there and he has to finish the guy in 2 rounds or he might get tired, you know. But he goes out there. He has this huge pressure bubble. He just did this horrible weight cut. He has the entire world, or at least the entire country of Ireland, like, you know, pressure to be the best.
Yeah, yeah.
And he executes. And I was saying for a long time, people are missing that his weight cut expertise is a part of his expertise.
Right.
You know. And then he went up in weight and he looked phenomenal against what's his name now? Wow, so disrespectful.
Who did he fight?
Eddie
Alvarez?
Alvarez, yeah. So he fought him. You can't have a more flawless performance. So everyone thought like, all right,
that was clean.
It's not just a weight thing, but he's still phenomenal. But I think his 145 success is like, all right, he owns that weight. Khabib owns 155, you know.
There was a picture that was shown on Instagram of his 3 weight classes that he's been to.
Yep.
And his record in each. And the best one he's performed under, I believe it's featherweight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not too sure.
Oh, yeah, they probably did 45, 55, and 70. Right?
Yes.
So 70, he's probably, 2-1 with splitting with Nate and then Cowboy.
Yep.
And then 55, he's probably like 1-2. He lost to 55. Nate and he lost to Poirier and he beat Eddie. I think those are his only 3 fights, right?
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2-1, 1-2.
Anything outside.
And then featherweight, he beat like everyone in the first round except for Max. He went the distance. So.
You're saying
for featherweight, yeah. So yeah, by far, featherweight is.
By far.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The smallest weight.
Yeah.
I don't know if like when you fluff up.
Yeah.
You get you're still like super strong.
Everyone has a frame. Everyone has that Demetrius Johnson, he struggled at going to, he lost it was way back, but he lost to Cruz and then I think he had that tie really with what's his name? Ian something. I forget his name.
I don't know.
But and then he dominated when they opened up the weight class. He dominated his weight class until Cejudo beat him. So I think people have weight classes that if they're that elite, their body is like made for that weight class. I think DC could have beat Jones at heavyweight. I think he could have. Not now and not in the recent years, but when he was in his prime, DC, they went up to heavyweight. I think he could have beat Jones before he had the back surgery after fighting Stipe. I think he could have beat him.
I don't mean to jump.
No worries. Let's jump. Let's do it.
Awesome. So with Black History Month, I did want to get into this conversation.
For sure, man. Yeah, no, you hit me up. You're like, you want to do a Black History Month podcast? I'm like, just don't quiz me too hard. That's a lot of pressure.
I kind of don't even really know what to ask, like in terms of Black History Month, but I know that you're Nigerian. Yeah, and I can tie things up with the fact that I see that you value the Nigerian Nightmare and the Last Style Bender. Yeah. I saw you did some research.
I was looking at
that you did that.
I was like, don't quiz me on these guys. Caught. But yeah, they have great like UFC win streaks. Obviously, like Israel Adesanya, he's Nigerian. He is.
Was he born in Nigeria?
I believe he was too.
He was raised in New Zealand. Right?
Yeah. He was. Okay. He might have been raised in Nigeria as well until he was like, we'll say middle school age. I'm completely guessing there, but then he went to New Zealand. Obviously, like a lot of these guys grew up with some bullying. And then Usman was the same way. Obviously, not New Zealand, but he was born in Nigeria, and then I think he moved to like Nebraska or something. At some point, that's why they call him Marty from Nebraska. Because he was just like, just call me Marty because, you know.
It's easier.
It's just easier.
I think he told a story about his coach, his wrestling
coach.
Yeah,
they called him Marty. You just make your name easier because it's like, how many times do you want to correct it? And honestly, even my name, Tunde, that's not the correct pronunciation. I just grew up with that. It's actually Tunde. That's how the Nigerians would say Tunde.
And I like calling you by your full name.
Olatunde.
Yeah.
Olatunde Oduyingbo.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
such an awesome name.
So
You have one of the best names. I have you on my phone as Olatunde. I
That's
can't
funny.
have you as Tunde.
it means
I
like
love your name too much.
it means wealth returns, or like, but in Nigerian culture it's not just wealth, like money. Like wealth is like prosperity. I guess in US culture too, we think money, but wealthy can be like your health, your kids being healthy, your kids being respectful.
Mhm.
That's adding to your wealth.
Now, are you seeing that culture of Nigeria
Yeah.
into the UFC? Are you seeing some of that? Like, there's like a Brazilian heavy.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of Portuguese.
Yeah.
And even the outfits that they wear, they're yellow to represent
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
the flag. Do you see that more?
Yeah, so in terms of like, I definitely see it more, but one of the things that's very different, and obviously you look at Kamaru and you look at Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya actually said, he goes, when he was champion once, he goes, I'm the runt of my litter. He goes, I can get someone in Nigeria boxing gloves and train them to beat me. And you look at him and he's like, he's a tactician. He knows, he's quick. He knows distance. He knows footwork. He knows striking. He knows what, head movement. Now, Usman, he's physically gifted. And that's, quite candidly, that's what I usually see when I see Nigerian athletes is they're good, but they have that physical advantage as well. Usman striking with Colby Covington and Gilbert Burns, but he has that strength to hold the Tyron Woodley against the cage for 5 rounds. Makes no sense, So, and the reason why I bring that up is it's pretty diverse with those two in terms of their styles, but with Brazilians, this is actually why I like Gilbert Burns. That last fight was, I obviously wanted Usman to win, but I didn't want it to be scheduled. I didn't watch it. It's actually one of the ones I didn't watch. I was so busy. I was actually in bed listening to like a live play call. It was some British guy called it on like YouTube, and
I didn't think they had those, but that's cool.
Yeah, it was really funny. He's like, down goes Usman, down goes Usman. It was so.
All you had was the radio.
You still listen to the ups and downs of it though. But what I was gonna say earlier was like with the Brazilians, a lot of the time, especially earlier, they all had the same style. You didn't have to look up the guy's history. You're fighting a Brazilian, he has good jiu-jitsu. You don't want to be on the ground. If you knock him down, don't get in his guard. You didn't have to look up his history. But with Nigerians, you would think athleticism would be like their MO or their reputation, if you would. And I thought that would be the case. But, Adesanya and Usman couldn't be more different. So
seriously.
Both very athletic, obviously, but you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying. Why do you think that... Well, 2 questions. Why do you think that we don't have more Nigerian fighters?
Yeah.
And 2, do you think we're going to start seeing more Nigerian fighters and champions? Because there's 2
which
Nigerian
is crazy.
champions.
Yeah.
When there's like a handful?
Yeah,
only?
there's not that many. Maybe a dozen that are on the UFC roster. There's some on the lower cards. I see them coming up.
Do you watch their fights? Are you interested because of...
I look at the last names. I can tell they're Nigerian, obviously looking at them as well to a certain degree because a lot of West Africans will have similar names and obviously features. But yeah, I root for them every time for the most part, obviously. I know some of their styles. I couldn't name a lot of the undercard. I think there's a guy, Kasagane, definitely butchering his name. But yeah, I like watching those guys, and I think it is gonna be more up and coming. I actually follow some people on like Instagram. One of them is, I think it's just Nigerian fighters. Like I follow those accounts, and you can tell they're ran by people in the motherland, like in Nigeria, And you see these guys, and you see the equipment they're using, and it's mind-boggling. But it also tells you, like, again, back to the sports poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not as much as you could go to the UFC Vegas and go to the performance center, like that stuff's gonna help you. Just like working out in the gym, it's gonna be repetition. DC, he actually had like something where he said like, these guys want to wrestle, they can prep for me, but I've been doing it for like 10, 20 years. Mm-hmm. So when they look to defend a takedown, I'm going to step 2 and 3 and 4, and it's called a chain takedown. And he's like, a good wrestler might get to block chain 4 or chain 5, but he has 10 chain sequences he's gonna go to because he's an Olympian. So I look at those Nigerian fighters and I'm like, oh wow, repetition breeds greatness. It's not necessarily the equipment and all of that. Now, when you get so good where you need that, where everyone's very close and you get those Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje type fights, Poirier, Max Holloway type fights, then of course you want to be in the performance center looking at the data to get that slight edge.
Can you tell that Israel is Nigerian based off his accent? Can you tell?
Oh yeah. So Nigerians, they at least the Nigerians from like what my tribe would be, because Nigerians have tribes and then the languages are named the tribe. So mine's Yoruba, and his name is Yoruba. I don't know what Adesanya means, but Ade, Ade actually means crown. So it's like means royalty, which obviously is fitting for him as the champion. But they'll talk in Yoruba, they'll talk in like English, obviously, and then they have something called like pidgin, like English, which I can't even do and won't attempt. But it's like the easiest way I could explain it is almost like Jamaican, but it doesn't sound like that at all. Kamaru does it a lot. So I can't do it. I'm not native enough to even give it justice.
Yeah, I noticed that in the post-fight press conference, Usman, he had a call from his dad or his mom or something. That was
awesome.
That.
Yeah,
it was.
I think
super
it was
awesome.
His dad.
Everyone was.
He picked
hyped
up, man. You're Nigerian. Your parent calls you. You pick up. You know better. It doesn't matter if you're, in the global stage and all these reporters are waiting to talk to you after you beat GSP's win streak. Right. you just pick up and say, "What's up, Dad?"
Yeah. Even if you got to drive 20 minutes out.
Did you hear his dad cheering and everything?
Yeah.
He's like,
he like in the background.
Yeah, he's like the champion. Yeah. I was like, this is, if you don't know Nigerian culture or how Nigerians typically behave when they're excited, like we call it being an extra, like just look up that video, YouTube Kamaru Usman, post fight dad or something.
Yeah.
Because that was so funny. I was watching it saying, this is so Nigerian.
So what unique culture does Nigeria bring to the U.S.?
So obviously, like foods, like every other culture. I think it's like a lot of Eastern cultures and Southern cultures. Honestly, a lot of cultures outside the U.S. It's just respect. It's one of the things why I was telling you about Mambo. One of the things I liked growing up, we were really good friends in middle school, is I saw the level of respect that his parents not only had for company and treating company, but all, like treating guests, having this random black dude, the only black dude in Coventry, be friends with their son and not see color at all, but also show the same respect from a different culture. He has a British culture, very respectful, and I'm coming from a Nigerian culture, and it's like you answer your parents a certain way, you do things around the house, I got to college and I was doing my own laundry since I was like in middle school. I got to college and people are mixing, clothes together that are ruining their clothes saying they don't know how to do laundry. And I'm like, what? So yeah.
Sorry, I'm pausing the video. Oh, the camera temperature has risen. Sorry, one day I'll figure something out to fix this 30-minute recording problem.
No worries.
But yeah, so you answered if we're going to see more Nigerians in the UFC.
Yeah.
But do you know why there isn't as many?
Yeah, I think it's just when you live in a culture, and like not all of Nigeria is poor. Honestly, the country has been blessed. I say it's been blessed by God with the resources it has. Honestly, you think of a resource, it has it, from oil to chocolate, like it has it. When I was in Nigeria, I think it was in 2018, I was walking a dirt road that would look like someone would go dump a mattress there, like a trashed road, right? And and there's like, fruit growing from the bushes on the side of the tree. Like they've been blessed with resources, but the higher ups kind of exploit the resources, and it leaves a lot of people that are focusing on like survival and family, and not like not really even self-defense or like sport. Definitely not sport. If anything, self-defense before sport. So I think more people will see that it's possible because, people are coming from the U.S. and bringing gyms down there. I know Ngannou, even though
that's what I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, he's from Cameroon, which is right next to Nigeria. He's Western African.
Really?
They basically eat the same foods. Clearly you can see he's got some good genetics if you believe in that. And yeah, they're doing some jiu-jitsu gyms down there, and he has an instructor down there, and I think he funds the gym. So
Nice.
I think more people seeing it's possible and seeing, representation's everything. You see one black guy or one Nigerian guy do something, you say, oh, okay, I can do this,
Like the people that live there.
Yeah, for sure. It's like,
Awesome.
you see a bunch of Brazilian guys doing jiu-jitsu. Maybe jiu-jitsu is not for me. I'm a business guy. You see a bunch of white guys in business. Maybe, won't get too into it, Black History Month, but they call you're talking white if you're talking business sometimes, Even black people will say, it's not like white people saying you're talking white. Black people say you're talking white, So like those are the little things where it's like, when you see someone doing it and you see that representation, that helps. And some people hate that, but I won't get into that. But when they say this is the first black person to do X, Y, and Z, you'll have people that say, "Oh, why are we focusing on this?" And to some degree, they're right, but they're wrong as well, because that representation matters for people to say like, "Oh." Not only have I not thought I could do that, there's been a narrative that I can't do that I'm not supposed to do that. And now I can see it's done, and it's done with excellence. I want to train and be the next Kamaru. I want to train and be the next Israel.
I like that with the UFC. There is like a nice way that they talk about their fighters.
Yeah.
There's nothing, at least in my opinion, I don't know, maybe you have a different perspective, but it's not like with the same politics as outside and the way they treat other sports. I'm not sure, but
no, I think UFC kind of is lax in terms of managing their quote unquote employees. I think by the pay structure, they have them as contractors just so they can keep more of the money when it comes to not having certain insurances and things like that. But yeah, they're pretty lax.
There you go, teaching me again.
Oh, I was like, you want to know who knows like a ton about this stuff? I always joke with their and say it's like a soap opera, just to be a punk. But my wife, man, like I can go toe to toe with anyone in terms of stats, in terms of anything basically, and if there's something I don't know, she'll know it.
That's crazy.
She'll know it. So I still think I know more than her, but if there's something I don't know, it's usually not one of the homies that don't know that know her. It's she'll know it.
It's her.
Like she'll correct me, and I'm like, wow, she knows this stuff.
I've always said this, and I'll say it here on the podcast, but I'm always impressed by how much of a fan she is.
Yeah, like a true fan.
Yeah, it's crazy.
True fan.
Like that's almost like perfect case scenario for you.
Yeah,
like a person, your significant other that loves the sport just as much as you do, sometimes in different ways. Like she knows things that you don't.
It's awesome. When she first got into it, I never thought that she would, but it was actually Mambo as well. She knew Mambo growing up, so she would be just as nervous, honestly, more than I.
Right.
So that got her hooked, and then she knows people's styles. Just the other day, I was laughing because what did she say? It was about Clay Guida. She made some comment about like she made some comment, I forget, it was about like referencing like Clay Guida, where like his face is always bloodied, right?
Yeah.
And then there was like a fight night, and Clay Guida was fighting, and I hadn't seen him fight in a super long time.
He fought recently.
Recently, and I think it had been at least a year, but I think it had been years. And So she made this comment randomly. No one had talked about Clay Guida. She made it randomly. I'm watching the fights the next day or two after, and he's all bloodied up in the face. Like, and I was like, I sent her a picture of it because she was at her mom's house, and I sent her a picture like you're spot on with
Always
this. Like,
bloodied up.
yeah, and it's happening. So yeah, she knows her stuff. She knows the style. She knows the tendencies. She knows it.
That's a little fact to know.
Exactly.
Which is so impressive.
Yeah, she knows her stuff.
Jeez, man. Okay, so with this fight coming up, we already found out about Kamaru. How do you think that Israel is gonna do against in the light
Against
heavyweight?
Jan. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's Blachowicz.
Yeah,
They always switch it up.
Jan.
Yeah, Jan.
Jan.
Some say Jan, some say
Jan.
Jan. Could be Jan. But he's a phenomenal
Polish?
striker. I think he's Polish. Yeah, Polish power. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's what I was going to get into. He has great technique, great footwork, but he's strong. And like I was saying earlier, people are built.
Didn't he finish?
Finished his last fight. I forget. This is the light heavyweight division once Jones kind of leaves. Two guys. Reyes. Was it Reyes?
Yes, Dominic Reyes.
Reyes.
Which is crazy because that's something that John Jones wasn't able to do.
Yeah. John Jones wasn't able to do it.
And then he posted something after Jan won.
Yeah.
He's like, you mind if I get my title back real quick or something like that?
Yeah. Just to take credit for work not done, but obviously he's done enough work in that division.
Seriously.
But yeah, Jan has really good power and really good technique. So just like I was saying, people are built for certain weight classes. This is why I watch. I'm obviously looking for Israel to get it done in his technique, in his footwork, in his striking to show like he's this elite that he's that elite that he can go up to a weight class and basically beat who many would say is the best striker in the weight class. Obviously Gustafsson would get some credit as well. So if he can go up and do it, it'd be remarkable. But that's why I watch it, because we might find out, Israel can dominate anyone in this weight class. Probably shouldn't have went up. What could I learn if he should have or shouldn't have? Just like we learned with Holloway when he went up, he could have not ran off into the sunset, and obviously he went back down. And who knows if that fight affected him with the two quick close losses he got. But he could have kept fighting at that weight class, never go up, never have the Poirier fight. And if he keeps winning, people were talking about, he can beat Conor. Maybe he can go up and beat Khabib and this and that. Now you go up, clearly that weight class was a little too much for him, even though obviously Poirier's an elite fighter.
Yeah, really. What was I going to say?
155 though, super exciting. Yeah.
Holloway?
155 with Poirier, Chandler, Charles Oliveira, Gaethje.
That's an exciting.
Yeah, Conor. I hope they don't do Conor versus Poirier again. But if they do, we're all watching it.
Yeah, I think Dana said something about that one.
I think they could do it.
I really
makes too much money. One of my buddies was saying like, if you're Poirier, why do you take that fight? And I was like, well, I thought that at first from a competitor standpoint, and then I'm like, this guy's been fighting since I think he was like 16. Like he wants to get out of the game. Like he always has paid in full.
Yeah.
If he gets 2 Conor fights back to back, he can look his wife and his daughter in the eye and be like, hey, I didn't fight for a title. If they don't make it for a title, they might still make it. Hey, I didn't fight for a title, but here's 10, 20 million, whatever they're paying them for it. Mm-hmm. I think everyone's happy.
Yes. That'll be the.
And he just trained for the guy. He doesn't have to train for a new fight. It's going to be a different fight, true. I think. Maybe not the result, but it'll be a different fight. But you're training for the same exact guy. You're going to try to do the same exact thing. Mm-hmm. So.
You know who I feel bad for though is Tony Ferguson.
Yeah.
Who fought so many times.
He needed to get that Khabib fight. If he was going to lose, I wish it was just to Khabib. We needed that finality. We needed a prime Tony versus a prime Khabib.
Also, you think that already he's declined so much that he's not in his peak anymore?
He's not in his peak. Once you lose a fight and you get that much damage, took a lot of damage.
But I also think, in my opinion, that it was partly because he had cut weight like a couple weeks before that.
He's getting too comfortable. He's getting too comfortable. A lot of fighters do this. GSP, he doesn't get enough credit for leaving, you know. I see right through it. I still, like I said, think he's amongst the top. If you take out the PEDs, Jones, if you don't, probably GSP for body of work, you know. But he knows when to come back when Bisping's champion. Doesn't mean he's not good. Still an amazing feat, but he would never fight Khabib at 55, which is fair because that's a lot of weight to cut. He would never fight Kamaru Usman. You know, he just wouldn't do it, and he shouldn't do it. You know, so it's that wisdom of when to fight, how to train is very important for sure.
Right. That's a guy who went out on top.
For sure. Yeah.
And understands that.
Exactly. But some of these fighters, even DC kind of stayed a little too long. He could have, and again, big money fight, and obviously he thought he could beat him again, and he showed that he could. Yeah. Because the first fight, everyone said it was a fluke, and he knocked him out. In the second fight, he was piecing up Stipe until he got tired, and Stipe found the body shots. Credit to Stipe, he made in-game adjustments. The second time around, he made the in-game adjustment of clinching him a lot. No one would have thought you could just hold DC like that. So kudos to Stipe, but you know, I think you're lying to yourself if you don't say the back surgery and him, DC being a little bit past his prime.
DC had back surgery?
Yeah. I think it was after the first fight.
Okay.
He had the back surgery. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's like it doesn't take anything away from Stipe, but at the same time, you have to be a realist and say like DC, he could have left out on top. You know. It's tough to time it, you know. It's very very tough to time it. Jones might be facing that now. You go up against Stipe, you might not like what you find, you know. You might not like.
So who do you think is?
I think Jones has to take him. Jones struggled striking with Dominic Reyes. Dominic Reyes isn't known to be some super technical striker.
Yeah. Do you think that he got comfortable in that fight?
I think they're catching up.
They're catching up.
I think they're catching up, man. I don't think Jones is one to get too comfortable. When he had like the OSP fights, I was like, Jones is still really good, but he's getting comfortable, you know?
Yeah.
But for Dominic Reyes and these other fights, Thiago was going, I think, on a torn ACL, and he was still getting some good shots in. Power, for sure, he has a ton of power. You can't train that, but technical head movement, come on.
Yeah. Isn't it weird that Eric Spicely choked him out?
I know. It's crazy. That's crazy. Was that him? Was it Thiago?
Yeah.
Was it really?
Yeah, he had a hammer on his chest.
Yeah. So it must have been him.
See how crazy that is?
That's crazy.
It's like...
That's my... See, dude, me and my brother have
doesn't
this
make
thing.
Sense. Almost.
Me and my brother have this thing in soccer where we really felt like we could have made Major League Soccer when we decided not to play, and we went to Providence College to go play for the team, like try out for the team. And then when we got there, we're like, wait, what are we doing? Like, there's no money in this. If you get injured, like we have to think about our future. So we let it go. And then we started, and at the time, I still think it was the right decision. Obviously, had time to meet my wife and all that stuff. So it's all worth it. But one of the things we didn't foresee is like, oh, David Beckham, Thierry Henry, Andre Pirlo, all these big name soccer players from overseas, which we knew we would never do. When they got to the tail end of their careers, they went to the U.S. So we're like, wait, if we played in the MLS, I could have been passing to David Beckham, because that's what young kids are doing right now. These big names went to the MLS to do that. So the reason why I brought that up, now I'm losing my train of thought, but was like, if you fight in MMA, you're going to eventually fight someone, win or lose.
Right.
Some dude, what's his name? But he fought Conor McGregor. I forget his name. But he's out of the UFC. Anyone, you know, could do that. You know, you end up fighting the Conor McGregor. You end up fighting these elite guys, and you have that win or lose. You shared a cage space with them, you know. So I saw Conor live, you know.
Yeah.
In Boston. Yeah. So that was cool too. So I saw him live. Obviously, I knew he was going to be big. I could never have thought he'd be boxing Floyd Mayweather big, you know. So you take those moments.
What do you think about what's going on with Jake Paul and Logan Paul?
I hate it, man.
Calling out.
I hate it. It's good for those guys. Get your money. I can't knock them. They're not doing anything. I deem unethical. Obviously, Jake Paul crosses the line for views here and there, but
Yeah.
you know, this is why I had a problem with Colby Covington. He's doing the same thing, but I'm like, all right, racist or not, what you're doing is you're playing on racist emotions to stir dissension and get more eyeballs, to get people to hate you or love you, because you know that creates views. You know, Floyd did the same thing. Floyd did a lot of bad stuff, but you know, it was just to hate him because he's just an unlikable dude, and obviously he had stuff out of the ring. But I hate when they're intentional like that. But back to those guys, yeah, get your money, but I won't be buying the pay-per-view. I again, since I like the poetry of it, I see right through it. Like, he wants to take the worst striker in the world in MMA so he can say he beat a real MMA fighter, and you know, he can't strike with the most MMA fighters, so it's like, it's ridiculous, you know.
Yeah, that's why I'm surprised it was Ben Askren.
And you see, honestly, one of the things that opened my eyes up to, because Askren's saying, like, I've gone in with strikers like Lima, like Douglas Lima, which is a phenomenal mixed martial artist. Yeah. And I was like, oh, Askren has a chance. I didn't think about that. So I go back, I watched the 5-round Lima fight, and I was like, wow, I didn't realize how little striking there was in that fight. He literally blanketed him. I don't know if he did 1-1-2 combo that entire fight, probably, but it was that bad. So you go to someone like Jake Lima and you're like, oh, he's beat all these great guys. It looks good. Like, I hope he beats him. He has a fighter's chance just seeing that many strikes thrown. But Ben Askren's striking is awful. It's that bad.
I haven't seen his striking.
It's bad. It's bad. Jake Paul knows exactly what he's doing.
Oh yeah.
And God bless the guy. It's smart. You can't fight anyone. You shouldn't be, you know, fighting anyone that has good boxing experience, even if it's amateur. You know.
He could have gone the route where, oh, I want to be a boxer. I'm gonna take the same route that everyone takes, you know, coming up. But I think he's doing the same thing, just with like a higher degree of recognition of the fighters who he's facing. Like he'd be facing the same type of skill. Yeah. If he just fought any like. Oh,
that's a good take.
He's just doing it like
he's not going too fast, just like any other boxer would, even if it was no names. He's
just doing it with someone who's really.
I'll give you that. Yeah, that's fair, because that's true, especially in boxing. Usually they want to build that MMA too, but usually amateur boxers, that's what you're coached and trained to do. Build that 5-0 record, 10-0 record. Once that loss is on there, it's dangerous for your career. So it's kind of what he's doing, just in a different way, and getting paid 50, 100 mil to do it.
Yeah. And in a way, I don't like it either. I'm not supporting.
No, but that's a good take. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think also it's like, I can see why Ben would do it. It's a win for him. He's getting paid more than he's ever gotten for a fight. So that's a plus. He said
that's a huge plus. That's why a lot of these MMA guys do it. Even Conor, who was getting paid the most, he's like, oh, if I go in boxing, I'll make more in my last 3, 4, 5 fights, you know? Yeah. So can't blame him.
Yeah. Who do you think that has gone up in the ranks by doing everything correct, more or less, that hasn't been a jerk, that hasn't caused controversy?
Dustin Poirier.
I agree.
Yeah, Dustin Poirier. Paid in full. He's the guy.
Yeah.
He's the guy. Now he's kind of even sneaking into that, mentioning Nate Diaz. Things like that, which they always do. You can't blame him. And obviously taking the Conor fight, which I would take as well. And there's competitive nature there, because you want to complete the trilogy. People are trying to say, oh, it's just leg kicks, blah, 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 take the win away. So I'm okay with that. Then Nate Diaz was clearly let me bag a big money fight in a win. But Dustin Poirier for sure. Yeah, he would be the guy, paid in full.
I feel like that type of personality will sneak up on people because they're not expecting them. Not everyone is putting their money down to watch this guy.
Yeah.
Because he's not as exciting. So when he does win really big, like against Conor, like he was that great. It's just I don't think there were as many people excited to watch him fight because he wasn't like causing a ruckus all the time.
Exactly, yeah. And unfortunately, that's showmanship. So you kind of have to do it. And you know, once Conor did it, you know, everyone was like, oh, you know, we have to talk, and especially early. And I was like, they don't realize like Conor has an X factor. Conor has the UFC machine pumping in, and then one that went unnoticed by a lot, because I witnessed this live when he's fighting Dennis Seaver. I saw swarms of Irish people with authentic Irish accents. My wife's Irish, so we were loving it in the crowd. And I saw like, wait, they flew across the ocean to watch this fight. It's a non-title fight. So I think people missed that. Like when Conor was blowing up, he had an X factor. That's going to help you blow up. He was winning fights and calling his shots in many of the fights. That's obviously going to help you. UFC's pumping you, obviously could help you, but he had that nation of Ireland behind him, and they weren't there to take part. They were there to take over, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an X factor that people didn't see on the rise, was how many Irish fighters. He's changed it for Ireland, you know. So he really did.
Is that the same thing that's happening for Nigerians?
I hope so.
We couldn't see this.
It's going to take longer, you know. It's going to take longer. They need more infrastructure. They need more equipment. They have plenty of champions, so that's good. But they need more. They need more buy-in, you know. So yeah, it's always tougher. It's tough to do programs there. Sometimes you have to know. You have to make sure the guy leading the program is not funneling your money out. It's sad to say, but it's true. You know. You need to make sure, like, if Israel Adesanya, you'll be the first one to tell you, like, I'll do programs in Nigeria, but you have to watch your money, you know, and make sure it's going to what you want it to go to.
He said he wanted to what?
No, I'm not saying he literally said that, but he grew up there, so he knows, you know. I saw it when I went there. There's beautiful parts of Nigeria. There's a beauty to the culture and the ethics and the respect and the humility and all of those things, but then there's corruption as well. You know, the guy at the airport will try to tell you your luggage can't go through until you pass him some money. You know?
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, and they're working for the airport. You know, so it's like, yep. So yeah,
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, and then for whatever reason, my mom was with me when I was there. You know, she lets them know she's a local. She can speak Yoruba, and they let us go. You know?
Speak Yoruba?
No, very, very little. I know more Spanish than Yoruba.
I was going to ask you. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's what living in the U.S. does to you.
Yeah, exactly. I was in like Spanish 1, 2, 3, 4 honors classes in high school.
What?
Yeah, and I just didn't take it in college. I wish I did, because I was like writing essays in Spanish, you know, for high school. Yeah. Making sure all the tenses and everything was in the right place. And I
wish, man.
Yeah, I was writing it. And I could write it. You know, I obviously wasn't fluent, so I had to think about it, but I could basically write it. Yeah. Like write essays without like looking at books and stuff to translate. Like I could write essays from my mind, but obviously it took me a while to do. Yep.
No,
those days are long gone.
I get the same thing. If it wasn't for my mom and other people that I speak Spanish with, it'd be long gone too.
Yeah. If you don't use it, you lose it, they say. Exactly. So you got to keep doing that.
Exactly. What about your, I didn't want to leave this as the last thing, so I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
You do real estate.
Yeah. No, don't apologize for that. You don't even have to bring it up, but yeah, that's been good. It's been really busy. I have a 10-year sales career. I've been doing software sales for most of that career. So you're talking to different CEOs, if it's a chief marketing officer, CMOs, different positions throughout. I've talked to CHROs, that's a chief human resources officer. Basically, depending on what software I'm selling, I'm talking to those types of decision makers. So when I bought my house 5 years ago, I noticed like the real estate industry, it had very few people that I felt like I could trust, and they were good sales negotiators. It's either they were good sales negotiators, but they were kind of like the sleazy car salesman, which there's nothing wrong with car salesmen. That was my very first, sales job out of college, actually.
Wow.
But yeah, I noticed they had sales skills and no ethics, or they had all ethics, but less sales skills. Now that I'm an agent, I know like, all right, that view was a little bit warped. There's a ton of great agents, more than I can count. Mm-hmm. You just, there's just, you remember the bad like anything else. But yeah, that's why I got into real estate, and it's been awesome. I love helping buyers kind of sort through The decisions go, like first time home buyers go through details that people who need to do 20, 30 transactions a year to survive might not spend that time on it. And then I also like helping like sellers the same thing. Like usually you want to just sell and be done with it, which is always the goal. But I'm able to say like, hey, if you want to hold your ground here, we can. Just know like these are the risk, you know, and that's what you want in an agent, someone who will tell you the pros and the cons and you make the choice, not someone who's going to make the choice for you. So that's kind of my spiel on real estate. I just sold or got under contract, I would say, my own house and a multi-family house. I did the open houses Saturday, Sunday for 2 hours at each property. So I basically did 4 open houses in a weekend, and that was Saturday, Sunday, and both properties went on under contract on Monday. So the market's moving fast. If you price a house right, it'll move fast. But whether you're a buyer or a seller, there's always ways to negotiate to get the deal that you want for a long term, you know? Yep.
What can you tell people about your real estate? What would you call it?
Business. You still call it a business. I'm under a broker. You have to be. Okay. You can be your own broker as well. I think you have to be doing it for a couple of years to get that, but then you have to build your own infrastructure, own your own brick and mortar, things like that. But yeah, I would call it a business. And how I would describe it, very simply put, if someone's like in the early stages, I spend time to educate them. I obviously have to be respectful to my wife and my 2 sons in terms of how much time. So Can I spend, 2 hours giving someone, free real estate consultancy to get them, up and running? Probably not. Can I spend 15, 30 minutes on a call that I've done a million times and get someone that has a 600 credit score to a 700 credit score with some basic steps and resources? I've literally done that, so I'm a real estate professional, not a credit professional. So that's my disclaimer. Okay. But I've gotten my own score up to the 800. So I've gone through that process of what it takes. And I've been a first time home buyer. So I've gone through that process. So that's how I kind of describe it. I kind of get people ready to purchase. And then when I'm in the actual trenches with them to buy or sell a home, I tell them all of the steps. I feel like some people are afraid to tell the steps because they don't want to go like, in the seller example, no agent wants to relist and go on market. I can sell it to this guy right here. I can sell it to this girl right here. Why would I? It's not my money if the seller gives up a little bit more of a credit and we move forward, but I don't do that. I'm like, you know what? They've trusted me. I have a fiduciary duty to be in their best interest. I'm going to tell them the pros of giving a little bit of a credit. I'm going to tell them the cons of giving a little bit of a credit. And I'm going to do the same thing if they want to go back to market and say, you know what, this buyer's asking too much. Let's go back to the other offers, Okay. So yeah, everything's case by case. That's the easiest way to put it. I treat everything case by case.
Nice. So my last 2 questions
Perfect.
I would ask.
No, I like this.
What do you see yourself in the kind of the same question? What do you see yourself with the real estate business and your goal long term? And what do you see yourself in the long term as well with martial arts?
Okay.
And maybe specifically, if you want to go into it, jiu-jitsu, because I know that you do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So
no, perfect.
To leave that.
No, I like that. So from a real estate perspective, I got into real estate for maybe 2 to 3 reasons. One, I knew I could do it with my sales background and bring like that unique experience. I was a first-time home buyer. I went through the emotions and I had unique sales experience that most agents didn't have. So that was one reason. Another reason was, quite frankly, I felt like I got burned on my deal. In some ways, it was still an excellent deal, as evidenced by what I'm selling it for now. But that's a story for a different day. But yeah, I wanted to bring negotiation skills and ethics. And then the last part was I just wanted to build connections as well. So not only like helping people, but also as I was doing that, build connections. So when I want to buy a real estate investment property, when I want to upsize into a bigger property, or maybe do repairs to a property, I had that network. So long term, I see me doing this for the foreseeable future. I'm 32 years old now. I tell everyone I'm retiring when I'm 40. So if you're listening to this and you want to use me as your agent, get in while you can. I think I'll do it longer, but I have that goal. And that's why I'm kind of accelerating things, because I want to do jujitsu. I want to do these things. And, I go up and down because my first priority is, I always say it's God, family, church, everything else comes after. So like, obviously God, you serve God, family, that's the season I'm in right now. And you're always in the season of serving your family, but I'm trying to set up my kids not where they could get like their fancy cars and this and that. I want them to see you don't have to like go to college, get the job, work till 65 and retire and, spread out the money that you have in retirement until you die. Like, I'm not about that at all. I've worked in these software sales companies. I've seen the 60-year-old that I'm working with, and I've seen them miserable. If you love what you're doing, that's fine. If you have to do it because you weren't fortunate enough, blessed enough, whatever it is, to accelerate things a little bit faster in your earlier stages, then that's unfortunate, So that's what I kind of work against. But yeah, I want more free time to do jujitsu, just like Spanish, just like some of these other learning Spanish, just like some of these other things. I know if I'm on my deathbed and, I don't have a blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, whatever it is, I'm going to be like, come on, Tunde. Like, the sport, you love this sport, it's a uniqueness that is not in any other sport. And you have a passion for it. Why didn't you finish the race, So I want to finish the race there for sure, but I need more free time to do it.
Do you think you'll ever do coaching?
If I could see myself, and I don't want to put this out there like I'm going to do it, but let's say the card's laid out where, like, I don't have any belt in jiu-jitsu. I'm a white belt. So if I were in a season where like I had enough free time and, let's be honest, my own consistency and discipline first and foremost, like I'm not neglecting that. If I did that to where I got like a high level belt, like a black belt or maybe even a brown belt, I could definitely see me coaching. I've seen great coaches, and then I've seen great jiu-jitsu practitioners that aren't the best coaches, because you have to have a style for it of explaining things and how they can be explained and applied. So I know Triforce is awesome. I love Triforce. I'll most likely kind of be back there and training consistently there. But you obviously know, like when I was training at Connor's MMA in Norwood, Mass, like that will always be like, no disrespect, but that will always be my favorite jiu-jitsu gym. And it's because of how John approached the game for someone like me. Obviously the guys at Triforce are all high credentialed and explained everything super well. You need that competitive nature. They have, I think, the best MMA gym in New England by far. I don't even think it's close. This is just my opinion. Obviously, my unprofessional.
Connors?
No, I think Triforce has the best MMA gym. But when it came to, at least for where I was at in jiu-jitsu, I was noticing like really great, just by being consistent, I was noticing really great speed and really great understanding of positions and transitions where I could roll with like certain blue belts and purple belts and obviously not beat them, but understand more from it. So I want to be consistent, and yeah, man, I think jiu-jitsu is mandatory in my life. I'll always at least be, hopefully not doing this in 10 years how I'm doing it now, in and out, but if that's the bare minimum, that's what it'll be.
Awesome. I'll interview you in another 9 years just to see how.
Yeah. Hopefully, I have a black belt in my own gym by then.
Wow,
that'd be cool.
You heard it here, guys. Get ready for that gym.
We'll play this. They'll have this is amazing quality, but they'll have some crazy podcast quality, some AI virtual or whatever.
Some virtual reality podcast.
Right.
Is there any last words you want to conclude with?
Yeah. Just thanks for having me.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, man. That's it. Thanks for having me. Everyone keep supporting Rafi. This guy's amazing. He's a stand-up guy, a charismatic dude. Everyone who, meets him ends up being friends with him, and That's why I did this even on a busy schedule.
Oh, thank you.
No problem, man.
The cameras are off, but here's the $20.
Love it.
All right, thank you, brother. Olatunde Oduyingbo.
Love it.
I hope I
Well
said that
done.
right. I will never say it as good as your dad. But all right.
All right, love it.
Hope to have you again.
Sounds good, brother.
All right, brother.
Peace.
Peace.